How's it going, everybody? I've hopped onto Elden Ring Nightreign for the first time last night, and as a casual enjoyer of newer FromSoftware games, I wanted to share the first 5 things I noticed while playing Nightreign. Dark Souls 3 was my first introduction to this genre, and Elden Ring was a smash hit that was so good, it invigorated FPS losers like myself to indulge a little bit into a much less oversaturated environment. Like, what in the world? You're supposed to look around and relish in the beauty of an artist's hard work? WTF? You're supposed to make decisions and choose how best to play the game? That's not new to any of you, it's just something that was exciting for me, who typically didn't understand or look at RPGs properly for a long time. I'm so used to a different expectation that it feels good to release any preconceived notions on games like this. I simply didn't care about them growing up, during formative years where I was playing my favorite games at the time. Now, what sets Nightreign apart from any other game I've played or seen is its especially nuanced approach to throwing the player into a roguelike world. This was the most surprising aspect to me. It does not want you to play it alone. I actually couldn't engage in solo mode myself, so I can't unless I convince the other players around me to bounce, but it forces you to matchmake for a party of 3. So you better hope you got some buddies to grind this with, and if not, check looking for group posts or online forums for other folks looking to party up. At first glance, it's a little upsetting. On second thought though, it does add a little bit of fuel to the fire for a reason to feel that much more satisfied after completing a run with others.
You had to seek out some dogs and get the job done,
kind of thing. No, but this is the most obvious change here. Nightreign is entirely focused on building a cooperative experience where you and 2 others brave a new Limveld with tons of procedurally generated hiccups and events. Elden Ring introduced me to unique co-op elements like furrowed fingers and festering farts, items used to summon other players, both friend and foe. This was pretty frustrating to me and my friend because he's quite well versed in RPGs out of FromSoftworks' lab, and I was gassing him up about how badly I wanted to play some Elden Ring with him. And then we sat around trying to understand
furrowed fingers
and stuff, or at least I did. Now we get to experience something new together, and not only is it a portion of the Elden Ring experience, but it's a cooperative based split that is ever changing when you begin what is called an expedition. Speaking of expedition, and I've already said roguelike once or twice, that's actually the next most interesting aspect about this game. Nightreign adopts a form of the roguelike structure and pits you into a 3-day journey where you start from scratch every time. The only carryover you get are relics you've collected over your time exploring and beating bosses. You equip those to give yourself some sense of permanent boost, but I imagine these will get tweaked down the line, especially with any potential DLC content. What's neat about the expeditions is as you beat the final bosses, you further unlock the rest of the expedition choices, and you can search for the boss you plan on beating. This system is going to be extremely refreshing. It adds depth to the fights and events that take place and provides a hefty reason for so many players to keep coming back. Each of the 3 days lasts roughly 40 minutes, and there's the classic BattleRoyale storm circle that's closing in on you, but there's absolutely no aspect of this function that leaves you feeling like you missed out or didn't have enough time to explore. You know you'll be back, and there's tons of loot and enemies all around to continue fighting. Progressing your levels up in this game is as straightforward as it sounds. You start each game at level 1 and must do your best to acquire runes to level up, and to upgrade and purchase additional loot as you go. I'm not a big fan of the merchants available. I think some more variety could be provided, but I also haven't beaten all the bosses yet, so it's totally possible there's more for me to discover after completing some of the first expeditions. For context, it's hard. Not only is it hard with 3 people, but it's really hard when your boy keeps lagging out and now you have 2 people. I've already mentioned relics, which are probably going to be altered in time, as some relics seem to be a bit off, and some seem to be a bit too great. But like I've said, I haven't completed the first few expeditions, and ultimately know very little about this game. I can only make observations so far as to what I've played, which is the goal here. Next is the movement combat pacing. This was a massive bonus to how Elden Ring feels when you play it. They definitely wanted to remove some of the slower and drug out elements of the base game so that the cooperative experience would constantly be engaging, or so that the player would frequently feel fluid and mobile, in comparison to how slow you feel when you're actually performing attacks and abilities. Depending on the character you pick each expedition, you'll have different traits to be leveled up and upgraded throughout your runs. They'll move differently, of course, so you need to pay attention to this if you're as nearly unfamiliar with RPGs and roguelikes as I am. Weapon weight is frickin' removed, and the items you pick up provide slight bonuses to yourself, even if you don't have the item equipped. Now, this isn't new, but to utilize a weapon's full potential, you'll have to wield the weapon as it states for that buff/ability, so keep that in mind as well. Bunch of new stuff here, like wall climbing and zero fall damage, all super necessary and required to complete the fluidity and motion this game deserves. I think they served the combat pacing and mobility functions just right for a cooperative experience. What do you think? And lastly, there's randomized loot and events. I'll take little time to explain the most obvious and say that, of course, there are color-coded drops inside the loot that helps dictate how you'll need to play to continue deeper into the expedition, and sometimes you get pretty lucky like I did here. I actually came across a real player that had died here and dropped a ton of loot for me to begin experimenting with, and I had my most exciting game yet after this. What kept our first few runs so fresh was discovering random encounters like bosses literally rising out of the ground beneath us, and beating their doonies down so bad, all for nothing sometimes. It was exciting nonetheless. And so there's a few things that a casual guy like I noticed and observed while playing Elden Ring Nightreign for the first time. And I'm gonna keep observing things.
You cannot stop me.